Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 3, Episode 9 of Paramount Plus's Mayor of Kingstown, entitled Home on the Range. It would be nothing short of a miracle if the season finale can somehow fix the multitude of problems this show has created for itself. Yeah, there are good moments from this episode, and I'm definitely going to talk about them. I love the scene with Raph and his son and what appears to be the resolution to the Ian and Charlie story, which I'm going to explain in depth because this season, as it has done with many things, I think has done a poor job of explaining it so far, or at least keeping us up to date and keeping us fresh with that storyline. But the main plot line involving Merle and Constantine has been muddy, poorly conceived, and poorly executed from day one, and that continued this week. The subplot involving Tracy and the CEO named Breen, equally, if not more so, poorly conceived and executed, but has the added bonus of making Tracy an absolutely repugnant character. So that's fun. And if we're talking about shitty characters, of course, we have to talk about Iris, who, at this point, has cemented her lifeless blank stare of a face onto my Mount Rushmore of shitty characters. Finally, the show created its toughest task yet, by having to explain how that final scene is possible. Granted, that's much more doable than making me interested in Merle or Constantine, but it's a new difficult task that the show gave itself for the finale. To put it succinctly though, this show is doing far more wrong than it is doing right, and it might be time to put this show down like a dying pet because its descent has been pretty severe and rapid. Hey everybody, I just want to take a small break from this review to talk about the various other ways you can engage with me on other platforms. If you're so inclined, and I understand why you wouldn't, I am an acquired taste, but you can join the Patreon where you can get extra content like retro reviews, where I review old shows and movies to see if they still hold up today, Mike's Musings, where I talk about shows I'm watching that I don't cover on the channel, or Mike's VOD, where you can commission me to watch a show, which I will then review on the channel. And if you want to engage with me and chat with me more directly, I also implore you to join the Discord and follow the Facebook page. I set up channels in the Discord for all of us to discuss the shows I'm reviewing on the channel, and I also drop new videos in there since it's the easiest platform for me to share to from my phone. The Facebook can be really fun because I sort of live comment on shows I'm watching, often while under the influence, I'm not going to lie. And I'll also share news there, both about television and film, and about myself as well. So if you like my content, you want to be more engaged, you think I'm charming, or you simply want to show support, feel free to sign up for the Patreon or join the Discord or Facebook today. Links to all platforms are in every video description. Remember to share all my shit to your respective social media platforms. And now back to this review. After a couple of scenes that show us what's going on with Merle and Raph, we open the episode with Iris telling Mike all sorts of information that would have been better delivered any other way. She says, Constantine believes that Milo is alive, and that's why he killed Tatiana for hipping Milo to the bombing. And this does track with that weird phone call seemingly between Tatiana and Milo in the season 2 finale. Here's my problem with that. Why do we have to hear this secondhand from Iris instead of firsthand from Constantine? And why is something so pivotal to the events of episode 1 and really this whole season just now being explained in 2 sentences of written dialogue in the penultimate episode? Like, we should have seen or heard Constantine's motivations throughout the season, starting from episode 1, not in a couple of lines of dialogue delivered by Iris in the second to last episode. But this speaks to my issue with the entire Constantine and Merle stuff that I've been complaining about all season. It's felt so lazily conceived and sloppily executed, being muddy and confusing all season. And I don't know if this is intentional because the show's trying to be cute and it wants to hide its hand until the end of the season, but no level of greatness in the finale can balance how poorly executed the other 9 episodes have been. Merle and Constantine have both been absolutely terrible villains, lacking any sort of intimidation factor and having been poorly fleshed out and sloppily conceived motives and goals from the very beginning. So it was nice to have someone who is an expert at playing villains make their return 9 episodes too late, but we'll get to that. Instead, I want to start with the Charlie and Ian stuff because this was set up last season, and it seems to have finally reached its conclusion. Unless, of course, Ian somehow ends up being looked into for this, and I want to talk about it first for a couple of reasons. One, I want to explain this plot line because I think the show has done a poor job of that themselves by dedicating one scene every couple of episodes over the course of 2 seasons to this plot line, and even then, it's left a lot up for interpretation. Maybe not necessarily interpretation, but there's a lot of ambiguity here, unnecessarily, of course, given how the show has performed lately. Secondly, I think how this plotline is played out is a great example of one of the reasons this show is declining. Again, poor execution, but in this case, leading to a kind of a modest payoff. So, Charlie's plotline, it kind of starts with the prison riot from the season 1 finale. Kyle, and I believe Ian as well, were trapped in the prison during the riot. Robert and SWAT were sitting there to retrieve them, but Robert went full Robert and sought out prisoners to kill, as he's still doing today in season 3. Fast forward to season 2, and someone was willing to testify that was there to Robert's behavior during the riot and how Robertly he behaved. If I remember correctly, I think too, in their little, how they all meet up in the bar and shit like that, I think Mike specifically told them not to do anything about this. Like, don't worry about it, I got it. Ian, however, took it upon himself to take Charlie out of jail under false pretenses. I think it was like a dentist appointment or some shit. And take Charlie to this guy's house to intimidate him into changing his statement, which worked. He did agree to do this. But then, outside on that guy's porch, he said something wild to Charlie or about Charlie. I can't fully remember what it was. I think it was about him being a rapist or something like that. And Charlie kills this guy in the blink of an eye. So now, Ian is taking a serial killer out of prison under false pretenses who has just killed someone else while out and after Ian was told not to do anything about this situation. Now, this is the same murder, this guy that Charlie killed on his own porch, this is the same murder that Evelyn has been trying to pin on Robert. Now, with good cause, all of this season. Now, remind you, she wants to pin it on Robert because this guy was going to bring Robert down, so of course Robert has the best motive for taking this guy out, and then also Robert's a piece of shit. So of course Evelyn's like, yeah, Sawyer has done this, right? She always calls him Sawyer, his last name. Now, the next thing, I don't believe the show has been clear with this, but they've given us enough to kind of like put 2 and 2 together. We're to understand that Ian has been working with Charlie to help him remember where he buried a victim or multiple victims. But it's been hey, help me figure out where these bodies are at or where this body is at. This is why there's been such a focus on Charlie's drawings. They're hoping he's going to draw something and be like, oh, okay, I know that spot. Let's go there and check that out. Now, fast forward to this episode, and Charlie keeps bringing up the guy that he killed on the porch in season 2, which obviously Ian doesn't want him talking about or drawing. He brought it up earlier in this season as well. Charlie finally leads Ian and Stevie to this body, and I think we're to understand at this point, Ian no longer needs Charlie. He's now found the body that he's been using Charlie to find all this time. He no longer needs Charlie now that they found his body. So when Charlie brings up the porch guy again in the back seat of the car, that's why Ian just smokes him in that moment. Like, you keep bringing up this shit, it's gonna get me in trouble. I don't need your whole ass no more, you out of here. So that's how that goes out. Regardless of how well this was conveyed, I do think all of this tracks. My problem is that this is the payoff for something that they set up last season and had been dragging out all this time with like giving it a couple of scenes, every few episodes, but like over the course of, I don't know when this happened in season 2. I think it was fairly early, but however many weeks were left in season 2, the time in between season 2 and season 3, and now the 8 episodes of season 3 before we actually get a resolution to this, and the resolution is just that he dies. Like if Ian doesn't go down for this entire story is pointless because if you remove it, it changes nothing. So like they have to put pressure on Ian now for either killing Charlie or for being involved in Charlie killing the original guy, because if Ian just skates, what was the point of this, right? I was invested in this from the beginning because the scene where Charlie kills that guy on the porch is one of my favorite moments of TV from all of that year. So for this storyline to end with all of the gusto of a couple of drops of piss from my dick, it's a little bit disappointing. So, there was a lot of time invested for Charlie to just kind of just get shot at the end. So, like I said, I sincerely hope there's more to this storyline, and hopefully it evolves into Ian going to extreme lengths to avoid getting caught for both the porch murder and Charlie's murder. Hopefully we get something like that. That'd be great for, give me that in an abbreviated form in the finale. I'm good. Make that a season 4 plotline. If we get a season 4, even better. Another thing that happens in this episode is Raph pulling off an entirely implausible courtroom escape, and Mike trying to use this to his advantage by making promises to a lot of different parties. I love how anytime they showed Rav during the courtroom escape, walking past people, the camera like refused to show how he had his like shirt covering his cuffs, and it's like they thought like, well, if the audience can't see it, then it's not happening. And I'm sitting here like, just because I can't see it doesn't mean the other people in the courtroom don't see this motherfucking this blue ass prison shirt draped over arms that he can't move. So yeah, I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Like, what the fuck? Anyway, moving on. Considering how poorly written this season has been, I was immediately turned off by them attempting to do this thing with Mike with all of the like conflicting promises to people. You've already taken, you being the show, I've already taken a pretty simple story and made it unnecessarily muddy all season. Muddy has been the word of this season. Now you want to tackle fleshing out a plan that involves weaving together multiple promises that Mike made to multiple people. Like, yeah, good fucking luck with that. So, but I mean, I'm here for you guys to help you guys understand what you saw, and also to give my thoughts on what I watched. And if I feel like there's something that's unclear that I can explain, I'm gonna try to do it. So let's go over what promises Mike made to who, how they played out, and see if it worked. So Mike meets with Merle in the hospital and tells him the Russians won't be able to finish the job on him because KPD is outside of his hospital room and outside the hospital itself, and that they are true believers, aka fellow racist. I don't think that means like how Stan Lee used to say it. He also says that taking out Bunny is in the works. Of note here, Merle seems suspicious of Mike's claims in this scene, despite the fact that he has no reason to be, because, again, the Russians actually did make a move on him, the two people that Constantine killed on the boat in episode 8. Mike then calls Ian and tells him that he could solve all of their problems if he does not try to find Rav and just lets him be out for a day. He then finds Bunny, who only confirmed why he was my favorite character by ordering this lovely meal.
What you want?
Give me 3 of them biscuit sandwiches with the chicken and the gravy. All right, make sure that chicken extra crispy too, all right?
And then Mike tells Bunny at gunpoint that he can give him Merle and put down Constantine. He also says that Rav being out is the key and that he's clearing the table and giving everything to Bunny. Now, if you're keeping score, Mike has promised Merle that he'd take out Bunny, and he's promised Bunny that he can have Merle. Both need no longer be considered concerned with Constantine. Everything he said to Bunny felt authentic to me, but it's tough to gauge at this time since he's telling everyone conflicting information. But then Mike then tells Constantine he can give him Bunny since Bunny made a move on Merle, and Merle thinks it was Constantine. Again, quite true. But he says he wants Constantine to hit Bunny, take the weapons, he can keep the weapons, and in exchange, he sells them and Mike gets 20%. Lastly, he tells Evelyn, lots of promises here, that he'll give her Rav, which will come along with the headline of catching an escapee. You can do the perp walk, the whole 9, in exchange for essentially letting it go that he escaped in the first place. Look, man, he was trying to see his kid. I'm gonna hand him over. You can do your whole thing. You can get this win. Just do me the solid of not charging him for the actual escape in the first place. So that's all the promises that Mike made. Also of note, in this collection of scenes, Bunny meets with Raph, presumably at the house that he moved Raph's family to at Raph's request when he made the call at the end of the last episode. And he tells Raph that he's due some payback, that Raph is due some payback. So at this point, the plan starts to play out. Mike takes Raph to the hospital to get the payback that Bunny was presumably referring to, but already at step 1 of the plan, something instantly goes wrong. Merle, despite seemingly being near death, like we've seen him throwing up blood, has managed to overpower and kill the officer guarding his door, and somehow also inexplicably anticipated the exact timing that Rav was coming to kill him, and he hides in some closet or something. Like, when I talk about the writing being lazy, this is what the fuck I'm talking about. They just write shit in the script and then pretend like it didn't happen later. How am I supposed to believe that the guy who was coughing up blood in the ambulance at the beginning of the episode was able to pull all of this off? How did he know to hide? How did he know what time to hide? How did he, as someone who looked like he could barely move, get the jump on that? Did you see how big that officer was in that bed? That was a big motherfucker, man. How did somebody as sick as Merle overpower and kill that officer. Who gives a fuck, said the writers. They don't care. They don't care about logistics. And that's a problem because that kind of shit matters. If it didn't, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about it. So now, despite Mike's promises to Merle at the beginning, he being Merle, now knows that an attempt was made on his life and that Mike has likely been lying to him this whole time. Unfortunately, since that's as much of the plan that played out this week, we'll have to see the whole rest of these promises and how they play out in the finale. And good luck to remembering what promises Mike made to everyone during the 6 days in between. Like I hope we can all remember what he said. But again, when I talk about build up with modest payoff and messy writing, this entire portion of this story is setting up this season to fail. Now, there's no guarantee that it will. This show can pull it off. They managed to pull off finales. Like, no matter what preceded it, this show can somehow manage to pull off a finale itself. But the writing this season has been mediocre at best. Set up a pretty convoluted plan by Mike to end the season that relies on promises made to 4 or 5 different people. And then they split up the actual execution and play out of that plan between this episode and the next one. And again, you can pull this off. Like, don't get me wrong, it's possible, but you made it about as difficult for yourself as possible when you've already proven yourself unable to clearly convey shit all this season in the first fucking place. Whew. All right, moving on. Mike tells Kyle and Robert the plan to calmly arrest Raph, and Robert, for reasons unbeknownst to me, says that he doesn't trust Mike when Mike says that this will be a quick and easy arrest. You, Robert, don't trust Mike? You, the most unreliable and erratic and unpredictable motherfucker on this show? Amazing. Kyle then tells Mike that Robert should be benched. True. All this had me believing that the culmination of Robert's steadily increasing insanity was going to result in Raph's death and completely blow this shit up, which was, I mean, exciting to be honest. Like, if Robert kills Raph, like, I'm totally in on that. Like, oh, this fallout's going to be great. But alas, no. This season continues to disappoint, and Raph's arrest goes off without a hitch, thanks to Ian being there to calm Robert down, who is still antagonizing Raph, despite Raph having his hands in the air and saying, "I surrender," over and over. Like, it's very clear. There's no room for interpretation with "I surrender." But Robert's gonna be Robert. But speaking of Raph, though, just like Bunny's scene with him last week, Raph's scene with his son this week was great as well. I absolutely loved Raph giving his kid authorization to be a kid. Great unexpected advice from Raph that I personally wholeheartedly agree with. These two scenes with Bunny and Raph, with Raph's son, have been two of my favorite scenes this season because despite this show giving your kind of like standard stereotypical view of black men in prison, it balances that by showing these two try to be good influences on this kid in their own way. Like, even though their advice contradicts one another, like Bunny talked to him about being a man and Raph talked to him about being a kid, it shows both of them making an effort to give like fatherly / manly advice to this kid, none of which involved doing any street shit, and both of which were meant to help him get through these hard times. So like I kind of love like these strong black male figures in this kid's life, despite the fact that Bunny's who he is and Raph is who he is. But anyway, now that I've gotten some more positive shit out of the way, let's get back to what I hate, and that would be Tracy and Iris. These two are rapidly ascending my list of most hated characters of all time. Iris is already there. Iris made it onto Mount Rushmore with Lori Grimes and Skylar White last week, and Tracy is closing out this season with a pretty strong push to get up there as well. I don't want to continue to rehash how terribly this show has handled the Tracy, Breen / Cherry rape subplot, but it takes another nonsensical turn this week. Mike visits Tracy and tells her that Breen is being transferred, and her response is that he's not the only one. So already I'm like, so you weren't satisfied with completely fabricating a rape in your head and getting someone beaten and transferred over it. You now want to go after other hypothetical like rapists as well, because she ain't seen shit. Like, trying to manufacture new ways to ruin people's lives with rape accusations because you're bored. Like I can't stand Tracy. And again, if that's not what's happening, maybe you show us Breen having raped Cherry rather than showing Cherry target, rape, and kill a guard, and then she becomes pregnant. I'm going to put 2 and 2 together that the guy that she targeted, raped, and killed is the guy who got her pregnant. But again, the only way this subplot can be salvaged is to have Tracy proven to be wrong. if this ends with Tracy having been right about everything she's saying, it would be one of the shittiest executions of anything I've ever seen. So either way, this subplot is fucked 6 ways from Sunday. Tracy then goes and has a conversation with the prison's warden that I can't even really make sense of, since the writers thought it would be cool to have them like speak vaguely and in circles. And then as she's leaving the prison, Breen stops his car behind hers and gives her the finger, and she responds by hitting his car multiple times, because I'm like, yeah, that's a 1-to-1 response to someone giving you the finger. Hit their car 7 times. But she's accused him of rape, and she got him transferred with no evidence. So I feel like a middle finger is a lot better than she deserves. But Kyle notices the car damage, and he asks her about it, and she initially continues to lie and say that she got rear-ended. Kyle's like, well, did you get the insurance info? No, you didn't. Well, what about the intersection? What intersection was it? I'm a cop. I can check the traffic cams. You know, very normal, everyday responses to your wife saying that she got hit by a car and they were she was rear-ended and they left the scene. Like, and you're a cop and your wife just told you this. But then Tracy's response is, please don't interrogate me. I'm telling you guys, I don't know if I've ever been angrier at a character than I was in that moment. For starters, despite being married to a cop, she clearly doesn't know what the fuck interrogate means. Secondly, every bit of misfortune that Tracy has been met with, she brought on herself. And again, I will get on this camera and apologize to this show if I'm misinterpreting this, but like, if Breen didn't rape anyone, and the purpose of this subplot is to show us that Tracy is a moronic Karen who is loud and wrong when she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about, excellent fucking work. You are nailing that shit. Problem is, they've been doing this for so long that now I don't know if she's wrong or if the show is trying to rewrite history and make this the new reality. Like, once Tracy finally tells Kyle the truth, she tells him that all she did was call out what she saw. And then I became the angriest that I've ever been at a character because she didn't see shit. So, like, what are you talking about? Like, she saw a pregnant woman and got on her social justice warrior bullshit and manufactured a reality that would support her getting on her soapbox and tearing everything and everyone down with no evidence whatsoever. You know, being loud and wrong regarding subjects you're ignorant on, you know, it's standard practice. It's the behavior of your typical American. Loud and wrong on things they don't know shit about. Like, I don't know what this show is trying to tell us about Tracy. I'm not sure that the show knows what they're trying to tell us about Tracy. But whatever they're doing, it's a failure of colossal proportions. You're either rewriting history or you've made the reality so fucking muddy and unclear and confusing that the reality don't make sense either. Unless, of course, like I said, they do play out Tracy being wrong, then I'll probably be quite happy with this, aside from how long they drew it out, since it was so long that it made me question whatever the fuck was going on in the first place. Anyway, not to be outdone, Iris, who only exists to be a burden to the men on the show, continues to turn down Constantine's offer to give her a new life for no good reason. She even gets mad at Constantine for offering, which I don't know. I've long given up on Iris making sense, but whatever. She also briefly asked to sleep in Mike's office for whatever reason, since she's later on the boat with Constantine, and she makes this face when she asks. And it's almost as if to say, I know this is wildly inconvenient for you, but I don't care, and I dare you to object. Like, God, I hate Iris so much. Lastly, Constantine decides that he's somehow going to give Iris this new life against her will, and Roman has all of this set up. But when he goes to pay the woman who's putting it all together, that is when we meet the return. What kind of stupid sentence was that? That is when we have the return of Milo. He shoots Roman, but he doesn't kill him, says he needs him alive. So we get confirmation that Milo has indeed somehow faked his own death and is alive. Now, the daunting task for a show that has shown questionable at best writing this season is to explain to me how the fuck that's possible. We saw Milo get on that boat. We saw the boat move away from the dock. We saw the boat explode. How the fuck was Milo not on it? Was the boat over an underwater tunnel that he escaped from? Did he get into an indestructible safe within the boat that remained intact during the explosion? Is he a fucking god? I don't know, but my expectations for this show, giving me a satisfactory explanation on that, or anything else for that matter, are really low right now. So I'm going to close with a couple of quick thoughts. There are a lot of, I don't know if we needed this scenes in this episode. With one episode left, I'm wondering where any of the scenes involving Kareem are going. Like, given the show's history, though, this could just be set up for season 4 if they get one. But the thing about him being, his job being threatened, I don't know where they're going with the Kareem shit. The scene where Bunny's CO cousin tells Kareem he thinks the Grenader was white, and the scene where Kareem is told that he has 2 weeks to resign or he's fired. Both of those scenes felt noticeably out of place in this episode. But again, I can't make sense of it. But that's all I have for this week. Let me know what you thought in the comments. And until the finale, peace.